And one of the main rules is type designers, font designers, typically like to stick with maybe 2 font faces in any given design. Now what you can see right here is we've got 3 of them. And I'm going to quickly go over what font faces are as general definitions of font faces. So what we have is we typically have what they call a serif font and a sans serif font. A serif font is one like the 3 you see here. It has ornamentation like these big blocks on the edges of this H or these P's. And in the case of a script font, like this Edwardian script for Mom and Dad, you can see this ornamentation coming off. Also down here with this Love, Carrie, Brad, and Sarah line, this is Perpetua, the font face, but it also has this ornamentation of, let me go ahead and make that larger so I can tell you what I'm talking about. There we go. You can see that whenever you're seeing these crowns that are going on the letters, these ornaments on the letters, that is referring to a serif font family. And very common, and they're beautiful fonts. They work great for formal type documents like labels or invitations. And that's one of the main categories. The second main category of font faces is what we call sans serif. And that simply means without the ornamentation, without these lines. So if I take this line of text for Carrie, Brad, and Sarah, and I switch to something, this is a very common font that you'll see on both Macintosh and on Windows PC, is a font face called Verdana. You can see that the ornamentation has disappeared. I'll switch back just to show you what I'm talking about in a little bit better explanation. There's that ornamentation with a serif font, and when you go to Verdana, you've got a sans serif font. It's more blocky, it's more straight and cleaner. And every application of a font there is a place for it. With every font family in our selection here, there's a place and a time to use them. And sometimes you're using a more technical or futuristic looking design, and these more blocky letters really have their place. And so don't let that scare you that if it's not pleasing to your eye, that's okay. You're making a formal invitation here, or you're making a label for an anniversary, and we had Perpetua, which is a very nice formal font. I'm going to go ahead and resize it again, bring it back down to earth, which is probably at about 20 point, and that's really just a part of the greeting there, so it doesn't have to be really big. Let's go ahead and place that back there. Now up here we have a script font. It's kind of its own category really. It's cursive or script fonts. And Edwardian script is really the most popular one we see used on our label designs. Very, very, very popular, nice, elegant looking font face. And there are others in here that we would also consider to be script. There's Curls, which has this kind of playful look, and that's a fairly popular one. Then we've got Coronet. Coronet's really nice. It's elegant without being too flamboyant. And then of course we've got, let's go down here to one that I don't use that often, but Kunstler. Also has that nice, elegant, formal look, like something you'd see on a wedding invitation. And it's great for anniversary labels. And then we also have what we would call, let me show you more ornate fonts like Old English, which is very much like you'd see in an old newspaper, or if you're looking at history of printing with Gutenberg Press, that's where that style comes from, Old English there. And then we've got Niagara Engraved, which is one of my favorite fonts. And let me make this a little larger so you can see. Again, we can go larger on some of these font faces. You can see it has this really nice thick and thin line with this carved out chiseled look. This is often referred to as a chiseled font. Some people call it a woodcut style of font. And in the olden days of printing, these were very, very popular styles. And they're still very, very nice. They work in many, many different design choices. Also, when we go to something like Modern Number 20, see, it's too big at 66. Let's pull it down. Otherwise, we won't be able to center it. There we go. Here we are going back to more the just general sans serif font look, but it's got this nice thick line here on the edge of the M on the right side, and then the thinner line on the edge over here. These are great choices, and Modern Number 20 and Perpetua are fairly similar looking fonts. Many of these sans serif font families have this similar looking quality to them. Excuse me, serif font families have this similar looking quality to them. But it's okay to mix them. The choice though would be up here, we would maybe also make Happy Anniversary we would also make that in modern number 20 as well, because remember our rule there is we want to stick with maybe 1 to 2 different font families. We've got to make that much smaller to squeeze in Happy Anniversary there. Okay, that I can still move it right to left. That's your indicator there that you can still center the text. Happy Anniversary, let's pull it up a little bit. We'll put Mom and Dad underneath there. And now this is Perpetua and this is modern number 20, right? Maybe here we could go ahead and change to a block, more of a sans serif looking font, and we've got some nice ones here. Actually, I know the one I'm going to use. Let's try that. Love, Carrie, Brad, and Sarah. I'm not sure exactly I like the way that looks, but that is simply using 2 font faces. We've got the 2 cent MT down here for salutation, and we've got the 2 cent MT font family down here for Love, Carrie, Brad, and Sarah. And then up here we've got what we're using, modern number 20, is a lovely serif font. We're using this for the more formal Happy Anniversary Mom and Dad. You can mix and match these and play around. Let your eye help you make the decision what you feel like looks better to you. You may not want to deviate away from using serif, so we can go try. There you go. That's just using Times New Roman. It's a simple, it's really the default font that you will most likely find if you're using a program like Microsoft Word is Times New Roman. And Times New Roman is also a font that you'll see on both Mac and PC. Let's also talk now about colors. So when dealing with colors, it's very much an aesthetic kind of thing. I often like to use colors in my background to maybe help me, give me a guide to different choices I might have. And so with Happy Anniversary here, I'm going to go ahead and do some experimenting. And I'm looking at this maroon burgundy type red we've got here against this yellow background, and let's see what we've got in the different selectors. Basically our color choices, as you can see here, are all based on the hexadecimal coding system, which means that they are safe for the web and also easy to reproduce in printing. And that's why you see these little hex letter number codes up here at the top as I mouse around, and you'll also see this larger little color thumbnail that shows you what different colors we have to choose from. And as we can see, I'm looking at, this is kind of more in the purple range over here, this 66 and 4 zeros. Let's see if I go more towards the reds here. Now this is more of a yellower red. However, it's not getting quite as dark as this background, and that may happen. You may find that you don't really find a suitable color. I think we could probably try this 66. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty close to our borderline here. And sometimes, though, you may not find a perfect match for a color that's in your template design or in a photograph that you're using with your font family. However, if it's really close like this, it should work, and I encourage you to experiment a little bit. Just come over to your color palette. As you've got it selected, you see your bounding box. Then you know that you are actually working on possibilities for different colors that you may choose for this. We could try this 9900. That's a little more of a bright red than this burgundy in our border. So let's go back and stick with this 66 and 4 zeros. Mom and Dad, I'm going to go also and change that. I've selected that. You see the bounding box. So this text box area will actually help you preview your font type. As you see this modern number 20, it's actually showing us a preview of what that font will look like, but it's also indicating that Mom and Dad is the selected line of text that we're working with. And down here, of course, we've still got our color palette open. Let's go ahead and use that 66 and 4 zeros. There we go. For Brad and Sarah down here, we'll also go to 66 and 4 zeros. So now we've got kind of a uniform burgundy red color that we're using. And let's turn on the centering guides again and make sure, I'm going to just use the center. Make sure that there we go, snap that into place. And I'm going to move these up a hair, and I'm going to turn the centering on for that and the centering on for that, and there we go. I want to talk to you now a little bit about the style commands down here below your font face selector and below your size of the font box is the style command area. We've got bolding, we've got underlining. You can see that you're getting, when I go over these command buttons, you'll see that that yellow text box appears beneath it. That alternative text is very useful to tell you which command you're dealing with. But we've got bolding, and then underlining, and then drop shadow. and finally embossing. Now, depending on the font you choose, the different fonts have different characteristics that are built into their design. And as a result, not all of these styling commands will work with each individual font. For example, Happy Anniversary Mom and Dad and Love Aaron and Cody are all using this, what we call serif font style, and because of the way this, in this case, modern number 20 is laid out, it already has kind of a bold face to it. So I'm going to show you really quickly that when you're going on and off with these command buttons, you might notice that nothing really happens if you turn on the bold.